those of you that I don't know, my name is Donald Jones. I am the Chief Growth Officer at Next Street. I have been with the firm for 12 years, but here in LA, I have the great pleasure to lead our team that is serving as the coalition manager for the Get in the Game Coalition, the initiative, the Supplier Resource Hub. We're going to talk about all of that in this panel discussion. I come to this work for really deeply personal reasons. I grew up in a family among entrepreneurs. I think it was probably not something that was celebrated because where I grew up it was considered risky or just really challenging. But there were two exceptions to that. So my aunt Jeanette, and my Uncle Stanley. My aunt was a baker, and so she was the cake lady in the neighborhood. She made everybody's wedding cakes and anniversary cakes. And my uncle installed home alarm systems. This is pre-ADT and Ring cameras. Hopefully that does not give you a sense of how old I am. But while their businesses were really different, what was the same is that they faced similar challenges accessing the network and the resources to really get to the next level. And so that is really what compelled me to want to spend my time and my work in elevating and unlocking opportunities for small businesses and making sure that they have the access to the resources that they need to get to the next level. And that's really the vision and the mission of Get in the Game. And so you see these partners that have been alongside us and really out also working in the ecosystem to connect small businesses to the resources they need to compete and to thrive and to win. I'm going to just say a couple of words about Get in the Game for those of you that don't know, although there is a lot of familiar faces, and I think if you've seen me in the last 2 years, you've seen me talk about Get in the Game, but bear with me and I'll just say a couple of words. Get in the Game is a regional coalition and initiative designed to help small and local businesses compete for and ultimately win contracts tied to major events like the Olympics and the World Cup, and also to large institutional buyers. At its heart, Get in the Game is about strengthening small businesses and the procurement ecosystem. So it's not just about working with each individual businesses, but we also think at the systems level and how do we want to enact change and deepen impact. And we do this by making the system itself more effective, more efficient, and easier to navigate. So, we believe that we are reducing friction in the system so that folks can knock on fewer doors to get to the right place. I want to if you are a partner of Get in the Game, as I said, if there are a lot of familiar faces, please raise your hand. Partner.
I was like, yay!
Lots of partners in the shop. No, but I think that what is really important about Get in the Game is that unity and that collaboration. And it's about not repeating and duplicating efforts, but what are you doing and how do I coordinate? How do I help support and promote what you're doing? How do I let you fill that gap and I'll sort of fill the gap over here? And so I want to just thank everybody for their continued partnership and for supporting Get in the Game. So just to give you a little orientation over this panel and what we're going to talk about is really about the economic and broader opportunity and impact that the games will have in this region over the next few years. So we're going to dive into kind of both the direct opportunity and sort of level set around what that looks like. We'll also talk about indirect, sort of what are the procurement opportunities surrounding the games. We'll also highlight sort of Main Street opportunities because I think there's been a lot of focus on working with LA 28 and working with FIFA, but there's also things that are going to happen at that hyper-local neighborhood commercial corridor level. And so what are some of those and what are we all doing to plug in and support that? What are some of the ideas to really capitalize on the opportunity there? And so what you're going to expect to hear are solutions. We're going to certainly offer our ideas, but we want to really talk about tangible things that we're all doing or things that we're thinking about, what's also possible, and then just considering how do we collectively come together to make that happen. So with that, I am going to introduce, I got a lot of papers here.
They're all the same color.
Yeah, they're all the same color. Y'all like my cue cards?
I'm going to turn that.
Give me a second here. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to introduce my panelists. It's a powerhouse group of folks. I'm going to start you, Simona. So Simona Caldwell is the Director of Business Connect of the Los Angeles Sports and Entertainment Commission. Simona works to identify and connect local, diverse, and experienced Los Angeles County businesses with professional development, networking, and subcontracting opportunities directly linked to large-scale sports and entertainment events. Prior to LASEC, Simona spent 20 plus years. I was gonna say over 10. Yeah, right.
You're going to say it though.
Yes, 28 years at State Farm as a homeowners plan representative in public affairs, and finally as government affairs coordinator. Welcome, Simona.
Thank you.
Yes. You don't look it at all.
No.
Yes. Tanua Rash Intuk is the CEO and the Center by Linda Street, and serves as council member for the 8th Council District in Long Beach. She is a seasoned community and economic development practitioner with 2 decades of experience in both the nonprofit and private sectors. Her strengths range from community advocacy to asset and real estate development around neighborhood revitalization. Prior to joining the center, Tanua served as the Senior Executive Director of Local Initiative Support Coalition of Los Angeles, LISC LA, where she successfully expanded LISC LA housing, small business, and lending programs, and deepened its commitment to racial equity by bridging gaps in wealth and opportunity for greater Los Angeles families and businesses. Thank you for joining. Next up, we have Nicole Williams, who's currently serving as the Executive Director of LISC Los Angeles.
That was a nice look.
Yes. In this capacity, Nicole stewards LISC LA's office, which has invested nearly 1.6. This doesn't have a card in the back of it. Hang on, because I know it's going to say big number.
Million?
1.6 billion. Billion.
Okay, I was waiting, like, what's
I knew it was billion, yes. Across, with a B. 1.6 billion across housing, economic development, small businesses, health, education, community safety, and job creation. She leads strategic planning, operations, stakeholder engagement, and resource deployment to help close opportunity gaps in underserved communities across the region. Before joining LISC, she was the Senior Vice President and Head of Nonprofit Banking at Bank of California, where she led a statewide practice focused on nonprofits and community development financial institutions. And prior to that, she spent 9 years at JP Morgan, where she led commercial banking efforts supporting CDFIs. Earlier in her career, she served as the Senior Director of Economic Development under Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, where she advanced municipal and regional development strategies. Thank you. And last but certainly not least is my friend, Daryl Salceda. Currently serves as the Chief Operating Officer and Director at Associated Constructions Services Group, ACS, where he plays a central role in overseeing operations, driving strategic growth, and ensuring excellence in project delivery across the organization. Beyond his corporate role, Daryl is a very committed civic and business community leader. He holds a seat on the board of the Los Angeles Latino Chamber of Commerce, has served as its chairman, and is actively involved in advancing the interests of Latino entrepreneurs and small businesses. He is also a member of the University of California's Economic Impact Advisory Council, contributing his insights into supplier diversity and inclusive contracting. All right, and before we get into the good stuff, I want to just frame the discussion a little bit here. And so there's multiple estimates, right? 10 billion, 15 billion, 30 billion dollars of potential economic opportunity that is going to flow through the region over the next several years. And so these events will generate both direct procurement opportunities with those major event organizers like LA28, like FIFA, but there will also be a tremendous amount, millions and billions of dollars of indirect opportunity as well. And so understanding the scope and the range of those opportunities, I think, is really important, particularly those of you that are providers and practitioners in the space. There's a lot of focus on that direct, but we really want to sort of broaden sort of the understanding, or that common understanding of what the broader opportunity is. And so I would love to first, I'm going to start with you, Simona, just to share a little bit about which industries or contract categories are expected to see the largest share of event-related investment.
Well, thank you for having me today. And yes, I'm happy I don't work for State Farm anymore right now. Although when he was talking about it, I was having flashbacks of my prior life, but I'm definitely glad to be in this capacity here today. Before we talk about the disciplines, we have to manage expectations, right? So everyone's saying, oh, there's so many opportunities coming to LA as a result of these events. There's so many things going on. You'll be able to get all these contracts. Please note, as Donald mentioned earlier, that there will be minimal opportunities inside the venue, is what I say. I call it inside the box. Mm-hmm. So most of those opportunities, of course, will be outside the box, the mainstream, and of course with the partners, as he mentioned earlier. So when you think about what those opportunities look like and the disciplines involved, you think of hospitality. There's food and beverage. There may be transportation, of course, when you talk about the buses and the limos. Also, there's floral, right? Because there's going to be VIP parties. So when you think of maybe some of the, I don't want to say larger opportunities, but within the space of small businesses and what they can possibly participate in, it's those type of disciplines that they'll be looking for. So again, primarily hospitality. Some AV stuff, it just depends on where that event's going to take place, but there's an opportunity for that as well. But generally, hospitality, transportation, and maybe porta potties too. That's one that's coming out popular too, which not a lot of those. If you know some, let me know, because I only know I have a couple. Yeah.
Appreciate that. And so if we were to segment out the procurement opportunities from the direct opportunities that we, again, has gotten a lot of focus, then there's also the indirect contracts, so sort of happening outside of the venues, right? And so those are, and from our point of view, the services, the goods that are provided to folks kind of going to the game. So you think about, I know we mentioned Metro releasing an RFP, or an RFI, excuse me, for firms to submit proposals for ideas or how they're going to keep people cool as they're getting transported, walking from the drop-off points into the venues. So that's an example of an indirect opportunity. It's like things that are in service of making sure that these major events are a success. But they're not contract opportunities directly with the event organizers themselves. And then there, of course, are subcontracting opportunities as well. And so I think understanding kind of where small and local businesses can play in those spaces is going to be really, really critical. I wanted to just start to think and dig a little bit into that indirect opportunity. And Daryl, I want to bring you in just to share kind of what you're doing. And maybe share it with me about a vetted, supplier list. And so I would love for you to just share a bit more about how you're creating a tool that's helpful to facilitate connections to some of those indirect opportunities.
Okay, so I live in the space of business development and understanding what the customer needs and what's the death of small businesses is an unprepared business. A business that doesn't understand how to write a proposal on what we're going to provide for you. They're not financially ready. They don't have a past performance or any type of qualifications to bid for that opportunity. So what it does is, the way we look at it is that the failure of that business is the failure to all small businesses. So we've taken on the task to create a portal called Listo. So Listo is is the Mexican version of get in the game or I'm ready, right? So how do we get businesses ready to go? Well, we bring them in and we interview. We have an interviewing committee. This is okay, so what is it that you think you want to do, right? And then they think they want to do something, and then we have a matrix that says, no, wait a minute, you fit in this box, so why don't you try this out for a while, and then we'll graduate you to work for municipalities or to work for the state or other entities so you could grow your business. So what we did is we teamed up with a group of about half a dozen businesses that are bondable and have past performance, and what we've done is we've agreed to take on 2 or 3 of these companies on each of our projects so that we could build them up to become primes, not second tier. The thing is when a subcontractor, as we call them, are always going to be a subcontractor. They can never use those capabilities as their past performances. I worked on this project. But when you're a sub, they're always going to look at, oh, well, you were directed by the prime. So what we're doing is an injustice to that small business. So that's how we elevate you. You become your prime on a big project. Could be the painter, it could be flooring, concrete, framing, everybody's a prime. We all work together as a unity on the project that we pick. So then from there, what we do is we take them we put them through a process of about 4 courses. And one, again, is learning how to write a winning proposal. I would go to your house and says, I'm going to change your windows. And I put a price. I said, but what does that mean? What kind of windows? What color are the windows? What does it mean, right? Well, a lot of contractors, a lot of people don't know how to write a description of what they need to give you. So we call that writing a winning proposal. From there, we figure out, it says, okay, so where are you financially? What kind of insurances do you need to be successful in the space you want to work in? So we give you, teaching you insurances, financing. We have different type of financing programs, which would, through the chamber, we have unsecured credit lines up to $250,000. Then we have factoring money at 1%. Then we come back with some people that are working in the private space, and it says, well, if you're working for a customer, why don't you utilize at 0.5% a escrow, which means the customer will put the money in an escrow. They have a third-party inspector that's going to be inspected, says you did a good job, here's your check in 5 days. So we were talking about how do we keep the ball rolling, right? Because we live in a reimbursable era now where people don't want to pay until they see something, right? So that's kind of what Listos is doing, amongst teaming with other groups. Like we crafted some legislation called AB 1392 that impacts the state of California now, where the hospitals now are now mandated to use local small businesses in their area. And how does that work out? So we're now educating these businesses to help them open the door so they can start doing maintenance and repair. They got to start somewhere, right? That's kind of what Listos doing at the chamber.
Thank you. I think that sort of holistic range of services and really getting in there to understand where the business is and making sure that they have those relevant services. I'd love to bring in Nicole and Tanua to share a bit more about kind of what you're doing to help businesses get contract ready.
So, want to go? Well, first of all, let me just say thank you. Thank you to Linda Street for having us. Thank you to Next Street for just being incredible partners. I feel like I talk to you every week. It's pretty frequently, and I've never seen you without glasses, by the way. So.
Oh, that's what you're like,
so it's just wonderful to be in this space and have such great partners, so many friends in the audience. So glad to see everybody. But as you said, Donald, the numbers sort of move around a bit. Is it 10 billion in economic activity? Is it 30 billion in economic activity? End of the day, it's unprecedented. That's what we do know. And so there's a path that is open to us that has not been open before. What I do love about LA, I'm a Chicagoan by birth, but this is my second home, and I think I've lived more life here than in Chicago. And what I love about LA is that the opportunity is immense. And so while you've got these finite moments of FIFA and NBA All-Star and Super Bowl coming back to us, And we love Business Connect, by the way, Simona. And the Olympics and perhaps Women's World Cup coming in 32. What it sounds about LA is that this will continue on, is that we have the assets in this city to be a sports and entertainment city and to be known as such globally. So that's enormous. I mean, most of the time when Olympics goes to a city, they have to build the assets to contain that event. We don't need to do that. We have assets everywhere, from Long Beach to Inglewood so we are just sort of rich with assets, and so we're rich with opportunity. And my job is to ensure that small businesses in underserved communities have access to that opportunity. And I spent so much of my career on the banking side and sort of seeing things through sort of a production funnel. And now seeing it through an impact funnel is a completely different way to see the world. And so as I look at small businesses that are seeking opportunities around all of these games, I come to what Simona sort of started with, was what is the practical opportunity and how do you walk towards it? So I can tell you about the $30 billion in economic activity that will come to LA, but the question is, what is the part that you will play in it? How will it help your business to grow? How will it change your family and your community? That really is how LIST sees the world and how I've come to see it as the leader of LIST LA. And so I have a debt of gratitude to pay to my predecessor who set up a program called Ascend, which we do with JP Morgan. They are just an excellent, nimble partner. They're super agile. And I can say that because I feel like JP Morgan is home, but they are just incredible in being able to be nimble in a world and in a year that has been sort of a little bit challenging, I would say, and sort of feeling like the ground is shifting beneath us. So what we've been able to do is to figure out how do we go from saying that we help diverse communities and having to change all of that language and having to broaden our scope of the work that we do and ensuring that we don't dilute the work so much that the businesses that we are trying to support don't get the help at all because the work is sort of going everywhere instead of concentrated in the spaces where we know it's needed. So what we've done is sort of broadened the work but kept the focus on serving businesses that need to figure out a path forward in grasping these opportunities. And what we've also learned, and what I've learned, is we've got to stay in our lane. There's a lot of people doing work here. LIST needs to stay in our lane. Our lane is technical assistance and access to capital. And I'm going to add on preparation for access to capital. And so I think we do a good job of sort of bringing together capital and saying we're going to put it towards this fund and that fund, and then we get to the borrowers or the participants or whatever word you want to call them, and we find that they're not ready. And that tends to happen most often in underserved communities. So getting you prepared for opportunity is really sort of the bridge that I'm on right now. So I can have the capital, I can have the program, but if you're not prepared, if you don't have sort of the ability to navigate all these registration sites and RAMP and et cetera and FIFA and LA28, you've got to have that know-how. You've got to have your compliance requirements in place. You've got to know how to respond to an RFP. We can help you with that, but you've got to kind of have some of the building blocks that we can help you to grow. So I think for us, we're kind of taking a step back and making sure that people are prepared to respond to an RFP, prepared to take on capital. This work is many years in the making, so now we're so close to these opportunities that if you haven't been doing some of this preparation, you're a little bit behind the ball. But that has been our work, is sort of preparation for capital, preparation for opportunity, and then we sort of get you into mainstream such that at some point you win that contract and you don't have to come to a CDFI because you've graduated to be able to go to JP Morgan or Wells or wherever to get capital. So that's our job, is to get you prepared and then graduate you. And so that's what we've been focused on from sort of a preparation for the games perspective. That's been our lane.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, welcome. I know you've been welcomed by CEO of Lindustry Everett as the CEO and president of the Center by Lindustry, the sister organization to Lindustry. We too welcome you to the space as well. So I've been, really excited that this conversation has been willing to move outside of the stadium, because so much of the conversation is about what contract can I win inside the stadium. Mm-hmm. And there's only going to be, as my colleagues here have said, so many of those opportunities.
And so my key message, which I'll reiterate as we continue to have the dialogue, is what can we do to make sure that our Main Street businesses, that our commercial corridors, and that our communities are ready. So some of the things that the Center by Lindustry has been doing are related to 3 areas that I think are really critical to getting our businesses outside of the stadium ready for opportunity. So the first, my colleagues have talked about it pretty well. Daryl's got a program. We've talked about the Ascend program. That first one is all about how to win a contract. And that could be a sub opportunity outside of the stadium. And so we do have a contractors program as well that's really focused on a series of steps that make sure at the end of the program, you've got your pitch, you have your materials, you know how to price, you are able then to go out and win those opportunities, because that's our goal with you, is to help you win those opportunities. So we're looking for those opportunities when you're in our program so that you're using your real time and experience to be able to complete that application while you're in the program. So one is making sure that our businesses know how to respond, can respond well. And I was talking to some colleagues who were saying that quite possibly you might only get 2 weeks or less to be able to respond in this environment. Remember, the Olympics is only 2 weeks. So, you might be asked to put something together very quickly. And so having that TA up front, having that package together, ready to go, is very critical. The second thing that I think Main Street businesses are going to have to think about that we're already working on is making sure you have a digital footprint. People have to be able to find you. They're new to our area, they're new to our community. They have no idea what we know, which is where you go to get this, where you go to get that. So we want to make sure that businesses understand and know how to create that digital profile that allows for the public to be able to find you and engage with you. And so we've got a course that we offer both in English and fully in Spanish, as a matter of fact, on both a beginners and advanced level, because not only do you want people to find you, frankly, there might be an opportunity for people to make a purchase from your website, and you create the transportation connection to get it to their hotel or their Airbnb, wherever they are. So thinking about how do you digitally connect to the millions of people who are going to be here. Mm-hmm. And then the third area that I think is so critical is helping small businesses think about this and I love the way my colleague from PCR put it, Colette, as a business proposition. So I said, businesses have to understand when you're on Main Street and not inside the stadium, you got to think about the fact, I'm a child care provider and I'm a mother and I travel. So I know how important it is to find child care in different locations. And so if that is your business, then how do you position that business model for the opportunity of how many parents are going to be coming that would like to attend certain kinds of events that children can attend while they're here in our region. So helping businesses, this third area is really about taking what it is that you do every day that you do well, and how can you take that business and take advantage of what's happening with the Olympics and what's coming here. So that's the area where we see ourselves doing more to help businesses of all sorts really take the time to go through and consider, how is it that my dry cleaners is going to be the kind of dry cleaners that, people now have a certain kind of event they need to get to. They only brought one suit and they need it dry cleaned and they're not in a hotel. Are you going to be the kind of dry cleaners that goes and picks up in a certain radius, make sure that it gets dry cleaned, and then get it back to that customer? So that mindset of helping entrepreneurs be ready for the opportunity is that third area.
Absolutely. Like processing, and I have a lot of thoughts running through my head. But I'm curious, and this is a question for the full panel. You all are doing incredible things and a wide range of things to help businesses get ready and be connected to opportunities. What's one thing that you want to do that you haven't been able to do, either because you don't have the resources, it's a capacity thing, So I'm curious who wants to sort of chime in, if there's sort of one like innovative idea or something that you would want to provide directly to help more businesses become contract ready. What would that look like?
So for me, as someone who also, as you noted, works very closely with cities, I want to do more work or see more work that we can do with local jurisdictions and thinking about, how do you get your city ready? So one city that comes to mind is the city of Carson, for example. Mm-hmm. So the city of Carson is going to be home to several stadium venue activities. So they're going to have activity inside the stadium. There's certainly going to be contracts, and any of you who have been in any of the Carson stadiums, you know what food is there, what sort of vendors are there. But this is a historically African American community in Carson. It is along the 405 and in the South Bay. And some folks may spend hours upon hours inside of that city. Well, I would love to see a city like Carson decide, hey, we're going to have a trolley that leaves from the stadium or some sort of transportation that takes people to key activities within our city, that allows you to, go to Daryl's Kitchen where you can have Cajun food that you can't have anywhere else, because if you're not in New Orleans, you can't have it there. To be able to go to certain Filipino restaurants that are there. There's a strong Filipino community there. To be able to see any other art galleries that are associated with the African American experience. And again, give people something else to do. And give cities a way to think about, how do I bring that revenue out of the stadium and into my city, where people are now spending their time, their resources here within our jurisdiction.
Yeah, I love that. Some really creative ideas. One of the things that we're thinking about, and one of the things that quite frankly concerns me about brick and mortar businesses that are on Main Street, as we call it, is their preparation for the volume. So if you are a coffee shop that's, within walking distance of one of the venues, or you're a bakery, or it's an enormous opportunity that now, especially the Olympics, will only be walkable. So you're going to get a ton of foot traffic. But if you were, serving 50 customers a day, and now you're going to get 10, 20, 30, 40x of that, and you're not prepared, then the opportunity just passes you by effectively. So helping businesses that are brick and mortar, that are within sort of the walking space of the venues, to prepare for volume is really important. And the way you prepare for volume is more capital. It's the only way to do it. And so trying to, if I can get technical, trying to underwrite them to something that is has not happened yet, has not happened in the past, so there's no historical way to underwrite that. And there's no guarantee that they will be the shop that people go to, or they will be the restaurant that people go to. It's hard to underwrite to that. So trying to figure out how we support from a capital perspective so that people are ready for volume is really, really key. So we can help you improve your facade and do all the things. We've done that. So that your space is just more attractive. But once you get people in there, you've got to be able to serve them. You've got to have the inventory. You've got to have the manpower. You've got to have the POS to handle that kind of volume. You need all of those practical things. And so when we're getting out of the stadium and talking about sort of our brick and mortar stores, helping them prepare for volume is going to be key, so that they don't look up after that 2 weeks and like, wow, it went everywhere but here. That's what we don't want. So looking for those opportunities and how do we underwrite this way is something we're getting our thinking caps on.
Great, thank you.
So I think what we're working on at our chamber, and I want to say, Simona, actually, what I was thinking is actually what she's sharing with the group is there's not going to be much in that zone. So we have the map of the zone, that's the work that's going to be able to benefit our small business outside the zone. So what we're looking to do is to create watch parties, and in those watch parties, we're going to have the portable toilets, we're going to have the vendors, we're going to have the cities will fund those and participate in it. And I think that's going to be the only, that's in my opinion, is going to be the only way that we're going to be able to really impact and elevate our small businesses is watch parties now. You know, it could be Carson. We're choosing like Pico, Montebello, something in our area there that would bring the FIFA, which these people are more comfortable, in a group with music and big TVs and whatever's going to take to do, right? And I think that's how we're looking at the LA 28 on how to elevate or impact our businesses, and also sit on the corporate advisory board of Friends of the Coliseum. So as part of that group there, we're also looking for other opportunities to see how we could, we're all about contracts, right? And, we figured out a recipe on how we could convince, or how we can show our customers that we're worthy. So what we do is we'll take contracts, much like we're working in a special district right now. We've issued through our Business Expo almost $2 million of small business contracts. They're not big, 50,000, 30,000, but they're getting now introduced on how to build baseball fields, or how to do pickleball courts, or how to do art walks, how to do that type, something that they would not, would have an opportunity to do. They have the capabilities. People just got to make sure that we mold them, we mentor them. So it's, that's the way we kind of, that's the way the chamber and our leadership kind of addresses things like that. And we're excited about LA 28, and let's see what we can do about getting other opportunities for our members.
In addition to all of that, we talked about this earlier today at our panel. First impressions are everything. So if I can work with every business to help them get their website together, I would spend all the money in the world for that. And then also just maybe a brainstorming session for them to figure out, what is thinking outside of the box, outside of the venue looks like, right? So we talked about watch parties, we talked about other things, but I think sometimes people get stuck in this box where, I got to get a contract with LA 28, I got to get a contract with FIFA, Simona, give me a contract with FIFA, but there's so much to that. So let's really have a deliberate and strategic conversation about where you are currently, right? And this is your goal over here. We say LA 28 is the goal. I've been saying that. But what is it going to take for you to get there? So let's really have a strategic conversation about what that looks like with you getting there. And as Libby said earlier, you probably won't get that first contract, right? So again, managing those expectations and what those look like. But in addition to that, if I could just help them understand that process and then get them to think outside the box for the other opportunities, the other visibility opportunities, coming to networking sessions and seeing, collaborating with other folks, of course, to help increase their chances for opportunities, that would be sublime for me. But number one is websites. I can't tell you how many websites I look at. And yeah, and we're, get them there, but they got to want to come there from the digital footprint. And so it's super, super important. I can't stress that enough. If you are working with a business or have folks in your programs, and just make sure that they take a look at that first, because if I go to your website, even just coming from the FIFA side or the Sports Entertainment Commission, and I can't tell what you do, it's too difficult. I have to go to About Us to figure out what's here and there. Guess what? The consultants are going to go to the next one. They're going to go, this is too much, I can't see it. So I think just simplicity, right? And just making sure folks understand what you're doing, your capacity, and your notable clients, another key thing that I think people should think about too. Put who you've worked with before, so it shows that, yes, I am capable of working this particular event or opportunity.
Thank you. There's a bunch of threads I want to pull on, but I'm going to pull on the thread of collaboration, right? And so I would love for you all to sort of highlight how you're working with other entities, other organizations. I know some of us are connected with Get in the Game as an example, but I would love to hear just like one great example of collaboration where you're joining forces with another organization or set of organizations, all with that goal of helping small businesses get contract ready, get connected, or thinking about those direct and indirect and subcontracting opportunities.
Yeah, so I'll just answer that real quickly. So I run a program called Business Connect with the Los Angeles Sports Entertainment Commission. We have about 200 businesses in event production that I work with to help get contracts for these opportunities coming to Los Angeles. But I know that there are other businesses out there, right? So I know that we don't have all the businesses for all the disciplines that may be needed. I feel like it's very important for me to have relationships with the business organizations, with the mayor's office, with you all, so that when those opportunities come about, I can say, here's an opportunity. If you have your best person ready to go ahead and have them fill out this form. So, because I know it's just not about me and Business Connect. I think there's a greater ecosystem that I need to have, be aware of and make sure that I'm including them in this process as well. So it's important, and with Virginia, my friend there, making sure that everybody gets notification of these RFIs, requests for information, especially for FIFA. There's some that I don't have, but I do say when I send it, make sure you're sharing it with someone who has a capacity to do this. Just don't blast it to your network or to your organization. Make sure it's people who you know will go, oh yeah, I can handle that transportation bid. Because there's so much more involved that people don't understand, but in sharing, hopefully you all will understand. Yes, Simona's helping, number one, but number two, if she's gonna share, I need to make sure that I have someone prepared and ready to go as well. As well as getting the game, we love getting the game.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So we're looking forward to getting in the game. So that's part of it. And as we were talking and as I was thinking through what I just shared, I just, there are the three things that come to mind in terms of what it is that I shared. And it was one, contract ready. And so we've talked about that, and that's our contract program. And we certainly, we have some partners that we work with, and right now what we're focused on is trying to identify those middle market businesses today who are willing to give contracts now, so that as more opportunities come along, inside the stadium or wherever connected, they have a chance to do that. So that's part of our strategy, and we certainly welcome partners on that. So contract ready, digital ready. So we've talked about the websites. For us, it's also social media. I look forward to a business showing up one day and saying, I am the official ice cream shop of the Olympics, right? And so that in and of itself creates the kind of energy and momentum. And so we've got a couple of partners that we work with on that, and certainly, send it out to other partners to recruit to make sure that we have as many digital ready businesses as possible. And then that third area, I'm going to term it activation ready. And that is really all about what I talked about in community, in cities, in places, creating that experience in those watch parties. As you were talking, I saw a watch party in the Southeast LA cities, where I was like, all of the, Venezuelan restaurants and Nicaraguan restaurants coming together, closing down the street. You've got kids out there playing soccer and a big screen going, and one of the FIFA games is going. You see it too. And so that's that activation ready. And part of what I think for there, it's like, I'm looking for partners. I started having conversations like this with some folks who I think are thinking about it, but we're looking for partners that want to help with activation ready activities. Let's do it. Okay.
You said the wrong word to my wife. She's ready.
Any final thoughts?
I was just going to say, real quick, LASEC, they're working with 88 cities in LA County to talk about FIFA watch parties and all that stuff. So if your city has not connected with us, let us know. I can put you in contact with our Director of Stakeholder Engagement, and she will give you all the information that you need if your city is interested in hosting a FIFA watch party or something of that nature, or a fan fest. The other things too, we're trying to work with bars and restaurants to see what they want to do. Of course, you have to be careful of all the IP stuff and compliance, because we don't want you to get a cease and desist.
I was going to say, you better know FIFA before you have their party.
But
you better.
I'm sorry, we're talking about FIFA.
Compliant to FIFA. Sorry. Have their party. Yes, because they will send you a nice little cease and desist letter.
No, I guess in closing, I think that I would like to see, more serious people like this group here, that's serious about elevating and helping businesses, right? And if we could, have a forum or something where, we don't need a lot. All you need is 10 serious players that have the same passion to make things happen, right? And that's what I like to surround myself with. I'm tired of all listening to all the talking. Let's just get to business, right? And I think Donald knows already. Like I gave him the question because he only asked me this question. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. I get to it right. And I emailed it. And my wife looks at me and goes like, "You didn't do that, did you?" I did it. Right. And this is I'm the guy that likes to stay in my lane. Right. But every day I want to see how I can impact and be a life changer to a business person. And I'm really passionate about entrepreneurship and thinking that you could teach somebody. Like the young adult program that we're running up there in Hesperia. We're teaching these young adults how to construct baseball fields and construct pickleballs and do all kinds of certain things that they would never been introduced to. And my hope is that they'll learn, we'll hire them. From there, they'll continue on to maybe want to do that and hire their family members to create their own generational wealth. How does that happen, right? That's what we should be focused on is what's the end result of the impact we're doing. Like all the contracts that we have here, you're right. We probably won't get to participate in any LA 28. I participated in the Olympics 84. I built shades, for different venues all over the place, right? And then we have to remember that the Olympics just isn't in LA, it's everywhere. They have equestrians in the Imperial Valley area, they got them in Blythe. It's all over the place. It's not just gonna be in Los Angeles. There's opportunities everywhere. Right?
I agree with that point so much, and I just kind of want to build on that and answering your question. We're an intermediary, so collaboration is what we do all day. Yeah. So we sort of take in capital and resources and we funnel it back out to those that need it most and where we feel like it has the most impact. So collaboration is kind of what I do all day, every day. But I think what's important about sort of taking in capital and resources and funneling it out and getting businesses ready for contracting opportunities is really, you could do that in a way that's super finite and it gets you ready for Super Bowl or All-Star and you can renovate a court or whatever. But that doesn't change anybody's life. And I've told funders that I work with, like, at this point in my career, I really wake up every day to change somebody's life. So we could renovate a court, or we could renovate a court and add that to mentorship and skill development and really change somebody's life. You could apply that to this. We could help you win a contract, or we could really sort of create a business that after all of these games are over, you're still ready for contract opportunities that have nothing to do with global games. It's just kind of the natural business of Los Angeles and all the things that we have here. So I think it's about, yes, winning these opportunities and seeing this as a real moment in LA. But more than that, it's about taking this moment and sort of building a business that's going to last for your lifetime, and it should go on to the next generation of your family. That's what we're looking to build, this sort of generational impact and systems change, and not just looking at this as sort of LA 28 and the next 5-7 years here in LA. It's going to be greater than that, but this is an opportunity to use this as a launch pad for the future. And so systems change, that's what we're doing.
Appreciate that. I think we're going to open it up. Is that right? Okay. So I'm going to open it up to the audience for a couple of questions. Patricia?
Everybody's been talking about emphasizing collaboration and corporations and streamlining, and some of us just went to like the mayor's sports and entertainment conference, right? And there was an expo. There was an expo there, and of course everyone was there, and everybody was telling you about their sites and their resources. They go here and their contracted opportunities. And then we were going to the panels, and everybody was telling you, right, that you get what you put into it. But they gave you at least like 8 different sites that we should, register and right. Advice. Do we need to do that? Is there a plan to streamline it? Expo is like a perfect example of streamlining.
You might want Libby. You might want Libby on this one. You might want to look to Libby on this one.
Great question.
Libby, do you want to?
Yeah, and I'm the actual person who actually organized that event. One of the things that we do struggle with is that there are so many different sites and resources available to you. We don't have one portal at all that you just go to and get everything from there. I would say get in the game is trying their best to get as close as it can be, but there are still direct opportunities that you're going to need to go to those individual portals to actually apply. It's unfortunate, but it's one of those things that we just have to educate them on. Actually, earlier today, on a panel that Simone and I were on with the Chamber of Commerce, I was saying that, you know, if you've got a niece or a nephew or a daughter or son who's in college, you can give them a part-time job. Literally keeping up with all of the profiles and making sure you have your business registered on these profiles pages, your NAIC codes, and all that, making sure that your website is up to date with the most up-to-date information, all of that. It truly is a part-time, well, actually, it's really a full-time job to do that, to keep up with all of them. We're working on it, especially with certifications. We want to have a better reciprocity so that you get approved or certified as a small business in the city of LA that will be accepted by the county and all these others, so you don't have to keep doing that over and over again. We're getting better, but we're not there yet on that as well. You know, government moves a little slow. But I do appreciate that comment. We're working on it, but you're absolutely right. Right now, you got to go to all of them. Yeah. And I want to go real quick on the IP part. Our event, we had partnered with LA28. Even LA28 with us did not give us approval to use their logo or the rings. And we're the mayor's office, right? So I could use it on social media, but on nothing else, or just unless it was next to that speaker from LA28. They do not play, either in a FIFA. They will send you a cease and desist. If you've got something in your bakery and you've got the Olympic rings and you didn't get approval, we're saying that they need to understand this, that they will, if they find out, they're sending you a cease and desist. And it's going to escalate from there. So these are also the things that we're having to explain to people. Yeah, you're having a FIFA watch party, but did you get approval to say, you know, or use your logo and things like that? So just want to point that one out.
Yeah.
Spencer has a question.
I have a question.
All right.
I think one thing that was really interesting to call that diversity to was the focus on how to support those mainstream businesses that may have volume. And I was curious, as you think about coordination and collaboration, the Get in the Game initiative is largely focused around the procurement opportunities. How can collaboration actually support more of the mainstream efforts? And kind of link the dots with what Libby was saying as well about like both the opportunities and increased volume, but also on the flip side, where you might actually need to know some things about how to actually operate at the moment during the Olympics. So like how can collaboration help support around that?
There's a couple things. One, there's just pure capital, which I think we do a good job of aggregating. But the other thing is visibility. As we look at a business and try to determine who is going to make the most effective use of capital, what's going to be important is who has the most visibility on Main Street, right? And so I don't think this was a dream. I think I heard this at an event, but an app where if I'm like, I'm from Paris and I'm visiting LA and I get off the metro and I'm walking here to the swim competition, that I could go on an app and I could know every little store from here to there. Did anybody else hear that, or did I dream? Okay. I'm like, now that, if that existed, that's a place, that's like a prospecting place for me to go and see who is on that app. That's who I can lend to. I know that they're gonna have visibility, they're probably gonna get volume, and they can support debt repayment on the capital that I'll have to give them to support their volume. So it's the visibility part for me that is missing. And I don't know who's the leader of that. That's not in my lane. So as soon as that lane becomes clearer, then it helps me to understand where I can put capital. So visibility, that's a big part of it for Main Street, and I don't know that we've got the solve for that.
I want to share. First, I want to thank all three women. I think it's not surprising that these three women are running such important efforts within our city. We just happen to love this.
You know
man.
him. Yeah, you already know him. You already know him. We know him.
Share with you, as part of the chamber, there's still a dire need for support for women-owned businesses because of Next Street. I am right now mentoring 9 of them, and at the end of the day, they are so ready, but they are not financially set. And the problem is when we go to all these efforts, we have most of the banks, institutions saying that women businesses are the fastest growing economic engine, and nobody measures the fact that they are also the fastest closing entities because of that. hear that, nor do they have an opportunity to take a risk on these women, and many of them just need 25,000 to get it going, you know, and so they're gonna lose these opportunities because when I just actually called one on the way here because that was a $5,000 grant, and she needs a machine, and she is being sought out by some of the big entertainment companies. Her machine is $6,500, and I said, there's a $5,000 grant due on the 14th, let's work on it tomorrow. You know, they don't know this, but it's constantly those little things that they need, and so.
I think Linton Trees, the funder. Let's make it happen. I was kidding.
Is there a program that
Industry.
needs to be thinking about where, you know, it is gonna be a risk, it really is, or it would be an opportunity right now for any program to be created for this, but I tell you, there is a dire need, and they are hard-working business owners, women that deserve an opportunity, and they're not out there. I've called all our banking partners, I'm like, would you take a risk? Can't we just allocate a grant to the chamber and allow us to manage it? You know, it's that important. So I'm just asking.
Are any of you sort of working on programs or aware of programs focused on that audience and meeting some of those needs?
Are you talking about women entrepreneurs?
Yes.
I mean, so many of our programs, our accelerators, are very, very heavy with women entrepreneurs. One that we're in the middle of running and will finish up by the end of the year is our Main Street Goes Green initiative. And I was just floored at the number of women who are in the program. It's the super majority and these are businesses who are thinking about how, not just from a climate change perspective, they're specifically focused on how do I save costs and, you know, manage my energy in such a way that I can continue to turn a profit so I don't have to close my business accordingly. I mean, Donald, you asked this question in an environment where we can hardly say race or women, and can't ask financial institutions who used to give us resources when we did say that. But yet the programs that we run, the work that we do, those who we target, we tend to still find women entrepreneurs who are very hungry for the opportunity to figure out how to connect. As well as, you know, diverse entrepreneurs. So that's something that, you know, that's a whole nother panel that I don't think you have it tonight.
Okay. Final question, yes.
Well, I have one question. This is the Main Street. One of the things that they talked about in Paris were some of the businesses that got like stuck behind the gate in weird places. So they had gotten ramped up, they had staff, they had inventory, and then within like 3 or 4 days, they were stuck behind like fences and things like that. So it reminds me of the work that your PCR is doing with Metro, where you had impact from disruption. So not everybody is going to be like positively impacted. And so I guess I'm wondering how we go about making sure that people have an understanding of there are going to be some other negative impacts through fences, and it's just stuff that all of a sudden you look and you're like on the outside, but not in a good way, right? I'm wondering where is some of that information? So it's great that we're getting, you know, information on locations and things like that, but I am certainly concerned because that did come up in some of the Paris information about some of the businesses that we're making.
That's an excellent point. And I think is one when we talk about that activation ready strategy. So in the city of Long Beach, we actually have a business council of small businesses who are advising the city's Olympic committee. And so I think having more of that where businesses can advise their local jurisdiction, where jurisdictions can then share with especially information that hopefully they're getting from the Olympic Committee. There's only so many cities that are going to be touched by the venues. There's not a whole lot of cities that will be touched by the venues. It'll be important to think about what is the pathway that is going to be visible and available, and what kinds of temporary infrastructure will be put in place, and how will that impact those businesses accordingly. Because if we can get in front of that, then, you know, maybe it's not, you're not selling from that brick and mortar, but now you can plan for a truck or a cart or something else that still allows you to be part of what is happening, but in a different way and location. So I do think we should continue to elevate that. It's important that we know what those pathways are physically going to be, so that businesses have the best chance of being able to have the most opportunity to win customers during this time.
And I think in anticipation for a disruption, like business continuity planning, right? Because whether it is because of security perimeters, or there's a water main break, or how do we help make sure that we keep resiliency services like in our minds as we have that information and sharing that with businesses. I'm getting the hook, so I'm going to wrap us. But first, please give a round of applause. Fantastic panelists. Thank you all so much for lending your voice to this event. I also want to thank Spencer Lau. He's the head of the Industrial Supplier Forum. I'm very proud. Katie Beach is in the back. If those of you might receive some emails from Katie. I want to thank Elsie and John, who are on the Get in the Game team, who are in the room as well. Once again, all of our partners in the room, just for supporting Next Street as a firm, our local work here in Los Angeles. It's been really great, and so this has been such a culmination of many years of work, and so to be at this place where we're talking about solutions, where we have tangible ways in which we're collaborating, so it's not just the concept anymore. And when we put together Get in the Game, it was about how do we build the infrastructure that was not just lasting, but durable, right? So as we think about the earlier conversation, how do we replicate and scale the coalition model and the coalition and collaboration that we've done around the games? How do we do that for the next fire? How do we do that for other catalytic events that may flow through the region? And I think, what you've heard throughout the day is it's about cultivating, like how do you cultivate the talent and readiness across small and local businesses so that they can meet the moment, right? How do we collaborate, and we're all partners with one another, and how do you share information and really think about, I heard a lot about staying in your lane and knowing kind of what you're the expert in and keeping yourself aware of who else is doing what else. And then just coordinating, how are you aligning things so that we really can provide that kind of end-to-end support for small and local businesses. I just want to share a couple of words about kind of what's next for Get in the Game specifically. So we have our Supplier Resource Hub, which is turning 6 months. I made up 6 months old. Yeah, on Sunday. So I actually keep track of that. So we're super excited about that, and we really want to build on the success. We have about 600 businesses that are active and accessing services. To do is we're going to get you on the platform as well, and so we're accessing a range of resources there. But really our focus in 2026 is how do we expand the reach? So that's about broadening and diversifying our partnerships. Also strengthening our capacity. How do we go deeper on the advisory and services that we're providing? Also introducing capital solutions. How do we create a capital marketplace? And then also assessing businesses where, like, doing a more holistic assessment of where are you on the capital readiness spectrum. And so, my call to action for all of you is to stay engaged and to stay connected. So if you know folks that have contracts, or if you are a buyer yourself, make sure you're sharing that information with folks that you meet today in this room. If you're a business support organization, prioritize the services that really are about building capacity, right? Because now that we move closer, it's going to be a hurry up and go point of time that we're going to reach. A capital provider, how do you make sure you're offering products that are really relevant for the needs and that they're truly accessible, that there's not like tons of paperwork, and so how do you streamline how you're doing and making sure you have products that meet the needs? And then community leaders, just keeping folks informed of what's going to come. So we have QR codes around the room. I think somewhere.
They were.
I see one over there. So please scan the QR code. We'd love for you to sign up for our industrial supply chain forum newsletter. Also, if you want to know more about Get in the Game, it's www.getinthegamela.com. So please sign up for that, or get in touch with any of us. We'll be roaming about. But I think, you know, resilience and opportunity don't just happen, right? Like, it really requires the right ecosystem and that systems level approach to make it happen and really make sure that, you know, when small businesses thrive, Los Angeles thrives.
Thank
right?
you.
So thank you all so much for your time. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.